believe I'm live. Okay. Beautiful late August day here, August 21st, 2026. I am on a mission to clean up a lot of the beetle kill that is scattered around my hillside. Got down some more trees, section them up. I've got an excavator for a few more days to accomplish that goal. But it's a littler dude than the one that I was using before. The last one was like I don't know, it's like maybe a 19,500 pound, like rated for lifting that much. And this one is like rated maybe for lifting 7,500 pounds, which is a lot of weight. But boy, the difference in stability, especially cruising around these mountains, is really noticeable. And then especially with like the longer logs, moving, the wider they get, just like the less stable this dude becomes. I mean, it's surprising how underpowered and underweighted it feels in this dude, but certainly big enough to move logs, just not the very biggest of them. So I've got a little holding area. Let me see if I can pan this around just so I can give a little tour. Yeah, so I've got a little area. Oh, that's the wrong side. Area here where I'm piling up these like mid-length sort of scraps, but they're still quite large, so I'll, cut those up, let them season, give them to people in the area for firewood and stuff like that. And then over here, I've still got my big pile of big trees, and then I'm doing like any of the rocks that I think are worth having set aside. I'm kind of putting right over in that little area, mostly keeping this center area clear of obstructions. I think I'm going to get a sawmill out here at some point. I might spend some of the winter trying to mill these, kind of get a sense for it, but I've got a lot of space right here. This would be a great spot for a mill because there's room for the mill, a generator, if necessary, but I guess it probably just runs on gas, and some equipment. The thing about milling stuff is you got to be able to lift logs on and off your mill. And so I'd need either a little excavator or a little skid steer. Either of those would probably be fine. But yeah, gonna just hop in there. Not gonna have a great view of me throughout the whole thing because like I said, I'm moving around to get these logs. I'll be in and out of the excavator with my chainsaw, cutting stuff down to a more easy size, and then you'll see me in and out, coming back up. You won't hear me unless you do. But as I get further and further away from the microphone receiver, the audio may cut in and out. But it's about 1:26. I'm gonna see if I can't get a solid, 5 hours done here today. I think I'm gonna run out of fuel in this excavator probably in an hour or so, depending on just how much hold on one second. Depending on just how many hills I have to take. When you keep the excavator like idling really low, the fuel efficiency is actually pretty good. But once you get the RPMs on the motor turned up a decent amount, you really can cruise through it quite quickly. What's going on? So I'm trying to get I realized last time I was out here doing this, that I could track my what the heck? I realized I could track the excavator, but only through the app. I couldn't set it from my like streaming controller. So I'm just going to see if I can get into my OBSBot. Huh. But then why, oh why? Let's... It's so weird when things just change on their own. Why is it not? It says, please connect my device with... Please connect with device's Wi-Fi. But I am, right? But if I have to mess with my... If I have to mess with the Wi-Fi, I think I'm going to lose the stream. Okay, well, that's a bummer. So I guess I'll try just... I'll try to just have it tracking me, unless I can figure out how to track something else from on here, but I don't think I can. I'm going to give it one more short little chunk of time to see if it can make it work. So far, no good. Huh. Nope. It's no good. So I've been having like quite a struggle with the county out here. Truly truly silly stuff that, you know, I'm working to resolve, but they were quite unhappy at the way that I went about clearing these trees, which is a bummer because just like intuitively, if I was in charge of a county, I think I would be really encouraging of landowners to maintain their own property, and even if like it required some amount of, you know, moving creating trails to get back and stuff, you know, you just got to get down these dead trees. They're a real nuisance. Okay, firmware. I'm not gonna mess with the firmware right now, but I do have the app working, it looks like. So I'm gonna, once I get into the excavator, I will reset the tracking, so hopefully it'll at least follow me a little bit. But we'll see. Bump, 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 bump. Doo doop, 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 boop, boop, boop. Okay. Cool. Well, I'm glad that was actually doable. The one thing I will say about this machine that I really couldn't say for the other one is that the air conditioning works. Get this bad boy fired up, and it'll actually cool me down pretty quick. Yeah, immediately cool. Wow. I mean, my truck's AC doesn't kick on that quick. OFA1? I don't even know what that means. I don't know. I've got a sandwich in my pocket. Let me get this out of here. Put it in my lunch bag. Get all my stuff situated. All right, we're off. We're off to see the wizard. Yeah, the littler excavator just really feels all of the little bumps significantly more than the heavier one, which makes sense. But it's surprising to me. I guess the only reason you would really want the smaller ones is just because they're a little cheaper to rent, but if you had like a really narrow little area, you would probably want a little guy. You'd need a little guy. But for bigger spaces, I don't know that you're ever really making a mistake having a bit more weight and a bit more power on your hands. I don't know if the camera is tracking me. I think it probably lost me and doesn't know how to find. And then I very much wish I could get one of the big problems I was having last time with the excavator was with the track. It just because of the terrain, the track was really susceptible to just popping right off the well, I guess the treads were susceptible to popping right off the track. And then I got that first one replaced with a excavator that had the rubber a steel track with rubber on like some of the pads, but and that really stuck on a lot more, and I didn't have that problem. But it was after three times of the tracks getting messed up and having to send a service guy out to get the track back on the thing, which I'm sure I could have figured out, but I really don't want to. After 3 times, he was like, "Hey, maybe you should try one of the ones that has these steel tracks." And I was like, "Oh yeah, maybe that would be good." So anyway, this one doesn't have those. I'm very much hoping we can avoid these tracks popping off. I'm doing like a back up, go forward, down, so I can limit the number of times I have to turn this bad boy around. I really can't imagine. I spent the first couple months of this whole thing moving logs by hand, and it's a real big pain in the ass. Boop, boop, bonk, bonk. So I got my mid-size, longer, my shorter mid-size, my long logs, my rock pile. I got it all. Still have a pretty considerable number of trees that need to be cut down. But with the little time that I have right now, I'm pretty much just going to work on cleanup from past bursts of logging. That way I'm not working in a sort of a cluttered area forever. I'm sure that skid steers can do a few things that excavators aren't as good at. But for everything I've encountered, all of the little, except for like grading the driveway, which is even had been doable, and in case the county's listening, I'm not talking about this driveway, I'm not grading anything, but I mean the driveway to my house that's already got an approved grade. Yeah, I can do that in the excavator. It's not quite as smooth as the skid steer, but I think when we invest in some equipment, we'll probably look for a nice used large excavator. Sort of need a. It's not a really good way to carry a chainsaw in an excavator, at least not in the cab of this one. It'd be nice to have a little toolbox on the outside that would be. I could just slide the excavator or the chainsaw into a holster there, carry an axe and stuff like that on the outside. This is like this is one of those projects that hiring a team to come out and do it for me would be so expensive because none of it is quick. So I got a quote. I was just curious, like how much a professional arborist, what a forest management company or whatever would charge me to finish up these logs for me. And given the size of the project, they quoted me on sort of a day rate, which they said was like a 3-man team, and it was about like $2,500 a day. And $2,500 covers a week of excavator rental, including delivery. But it is just me, and so it takes a long time. But that's a week of the time on the excavator versus one day of 3 guys, one of whom will also have an excavator. But he said it would be a 10 to 14 day project based on the number of dead trees we have on our property. And so he'd give me a little bit of a deal on the day rate, but even call it 20, well, I'll just call it 2,000 for the sake of it. That's like 20 grand and for 10 days, you know? And 20 grand is 3 months, 2 or 3 months, 2.5 months of renting an excavator. And you know what? I enjoy it. So I think I'm glad that I've got the time to do this at the moment. And I just would like the blessing of the county to maintain my land like this, because like I understand needing a permit. I don't necessarily understand for my purposes. I don't understand why I need an engineered permit, because I don't have roads out here. I have these little trails that are basically just like access trails for heavy equipment or 4x4s on foot or some other off-road vehicle. But from what I can tell so far, and I'm still waiting, I guess, for an official answer from the county, they don't necessarily have a separate set of building standards for trails versus like driveways or roads. Like, yeah, of course you don't want a road to be that steep, or a driveway to be that steep, but at some point you do have to, I didn't make the mountains steep. I used the natural terrain to guide all of my trail building, and that means some of it's pretty steep because we're in the Rocky Mountains, and it turns out God does not mind mountains being steep. But the amount of, like, the cost of the amount of earth moving that would be necessary to bring these trails into compliance with grades required for like roads that get any amount of actual vehicle traffic, even including a driveway, you know, it makes sense. They don't want driveways to be so steep that people can't access their property. Okay, I get it. This is, some of these little chunks are steeper than that, and but the amount of earthworks that would be required to make them less steep, or the amount of fill that would have to get brought in to bring that slope down in some of these areas is just, I mean, it's so prohibitively costly, and it's perfectly fine from my use because these tracked machines just cruise right through it. If I had a, you know, side by side or a 4x4 ATV or something, they would cruise right through it. My feet cruise right through it, although it is still steeper in a couple places than I would make it if I really had my druthers, but I don't. I'm totally drutherless. Anyway, so it was a big sort of a kerfluffle. Definitely made a mistake by not getting stuff permitted before I started working on things. But truly, the cost associated with doing all of this as if it were a real road with engineered plans, you know, it maybe more than quadruples what I've spent so far. And, you know, it takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of, you know, because then you get an engineer, and the engineer says, oh, great, yeah, now you need to get a surveyor, and you need to get a soil engineer. And, you know, so, okay, great. Each of them charge, you know, a professional rate for professional service. It's almost, I wonder sometimes if the building codes that are adopted are in some ways like to guarantee professional service providers get business. I doubt it. I'm sure there's just, they can rationalize it all with like safety for stuff, but I really do think it has the other effect of keeping engineers employed. Now, there are certain things that I totally appreciate an engineer's expertise on, but as I tried to explain to the county, I didn't want roads through my property. I wanted access to the specific parts of my property that are infested with pine beetles, and there's a lot of them. Okay, so then I've got all these, like, I've got all my little branches and little scrap like that, and that's all stuff that I need to, I've been piling up closer to the road so that I can rent a trailer and just bring all these sticks out to get shaved into, what's it called? Into just sawdust. Not sawdust, wood chips. But I wonder if I'm actually better off renting a wood chipper and just bringing that out and do my wood chipping myself instead of having to load a bunch of sticks into a trailer. I guess when I take a break here in a little bit, I will look up a wood chipper rental, because there's so many little, you know, just the little sticks from every log, branches, that it would be almost nicer to to just drive, if I could get one that was on a trailer, if I could get a wood chipper on a trailer, and I could just try to drive it down the path and just wood chip in place. But I don't know if I want my wood chips everywhere. It's a lot of things to think about. Whoa. So I've got my stumps are another thing. I guess depending on how big the wood chipper is, stumps might be able to go in there. I'm going to leave a lot of my stumps in the ground, I think. But my little rounds, I'm going to put right here. Bong, bong, bong. Yeah, just like the little things like rotating are a little bit less, just a little bit less smooth in the smaller machine. You need you need more power than it can readily pass to the tracks. Buzzing. What are we going to listen to this afternoon? Imagine if you took the building codes and the zoning codes and I'm not even building, just all of the land use stuff in 2026. Imagine that whole regulatory regime in 2026, and then like pick it up and move it to 1926. You have effectively halted all progress in 1926. The amount of prosperity that would have been available to the people of the past would have been so tremendously limited with a really, really restrictive regime like it exists today. People can't divide their land the way they want. People can't combine their land the way they want. People can't build new houses in as much as they want. People can't put up little workshops. People can't. I mean, there's just like the truly the number of things that would have been made so costly they would have been effectively impossible. I mean, it's like it extends to everything that people buy property for. So I'm sure that there are still counties in the country somewhere who are sort of forward thinking and less, I don't want to say progressive at all. I don't want that at all. I want a conservation of the American dream, not a progression towards some crazy bureaucratic shenanigans state where even the most local government that you would think should be maximally responsive to the community, like even they become adversarial. And it's one thing to feel like an adversarial relationship with the federal government. I think I guarantee even these people who work for the county have those same feelings somewhere deep down about other governmental structures. They certainly would be the first to notice some kind of restriction in their freedom at a federal or a state level, but it seems to be kind of lost on them that they have an opportunity to encourage safe enjoyment of people's land, that they are that seems to be totally outside of what they're thinking about. It's not even close. Okay, so I am gonna get some of this these branches and stuff as they make themselves known to me, and I think I'm just gonna pile them right here. Bonk, 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 bonk. Start my piles. Yeah, I would hate paying somebody else to do this for me. It's so fun to cruise around in heavy machinery that it would just be, I would be constantly bummed out. What? Oh, my foot was still on the thing. Yeah, I'd be constantly bummed out. Now we lost our... Remind me later. There, where are you going? What? I mean, sort of ridiculous that it... As good as this thing... Like, as nice as... I like these cameras just fine. But as much as I like them, they're not perfect, and the tracking feature is easily its worst thing. Yeah, what was I saying? Oh yeah, I would be so bummed out paying somebody else $2,500 to go have fun in their heavy equipment. No thank you. No thanks. Take a little longer and just do it myself. I really hope there's a good plan for the rest. Like, there's a lot of beetle kill on public land. There's a lot of beetle kill on private land. I think a lot of people look at it and they just think, oh yeah, this is a nightmare. I don't want to have to pay somebody 20 grand to basically clear cut my backyard. Thankfully, I'm not at that point. We have plenty of Douglas firs mixed in with our ponderosa and our other pines, and that seems to be, they seem to be the ones that aren't targeted by the Rocky Mountain pine beetle. But we were looking at some houses in Evergreen, Colorado recently, and some of the houses, I mean, they were truly just they were sitting in the middle of what used to be a nice forest, and suddenly they're in a big clear-cut lot. But it's, you know, it's dangerous. There's a lot of fire risk with all these dead trees. Pine trees are sort of like wicked fuel for fires, especially dead ones. They go up in flames, you know? And thank God we haven't had any big fires in this area anytime really recently. I guarantee when there is one, everyone will say how much people dropped the ball by not planning ahead and clearing the land. I heard that we were looking at houses, and I guess the county here passed a rule for new construction, that new construction over, I believe they said 4,000 square feet, which is a good sized house, no question. That new construction over 4,000 square feet had to have fire suppression, like sprinkler systems, built in to the inside of the home to prevent, well, I guess to prevent fires from spreading, from the, you know, house fires from spreading and then causing a forest fire. But, and I'm sure I'm wrong about this, or at least my knowledge of the issue is superficial, completely superficial. But I can't think of very many instances, I can't think of a single instance actually, although I'm sure there are plenty, where a house fire has led to a forest fire. I would think that you would want houses to be equipped with outdoor fire suppression systems, you know, like roof-mounted sprinklers that can wet a roof and prevent a fire from getting, you know, a forest fire that's raging. You can maybe buy yourself a little bit of safety if you can get your roof super wet and get the area right around the home. I don't know how many yards out or feet out you'd need it to be for it to be effective. I mean, there's obviously an amount of wildfire, amount of forest fire that is just unstoppable. You know, just the full wrath of the Lord. But I would think it would be better for the whole community if houses were, if land was cared for and if houses were equipped with some kind of an outdoor suppression system. Maybe that doesn't help the community as much. That's probably it. I don't think there's anything stopping you from putting in a sprinkler system on your roof. But I can say, okay, maybe they're just, you know, looking out. But we were talking to one builder, and he said that for their new house that they just built it to 3,990 square feet. And then he said he regretted that because he should have just gone ahead and put in a sprinkler. But it's funny when you set limits like that, or when your restrictions are based on, you know, some cutoff number. It's just so easy for people to game it. It's why, you know, raising taxes on really, really rich people a whole lot more doesn't make a lot of sense, because all they do is limit their income to under the threshold, you know? Bum, bum, bum. I think the little branches and little brush is infinitely more annoying than the bigger logs. Yeah, they're hard to... It's hard to grab them and keep them. And there's a lot of it. And it's crazy. When I first... Yeah, hey, why don't you keep tracking me, camera? I know you see me. I know you see me. I don't remember what I was saying. Oh, the first time I cut down one of these trees, I remember being completely overwhelmed. Of course, there's a whole bunch of branches on them. Of course, those go everywhere. It just didn't occur to me that that was going to create like a, whatever the equivalent of a physical cacophony is of things just flying around everywhere. Now, are we still tracking me? I think so. It's gonna lose me here, and then rather than finding me when I come back up, it's gonna pretend like I've disappeared. Maybe if I stuck the boom up in the air. It would let me, it would still track me while I'm down here. Let's try it. Does it see me? Not that I really like driving with my guy right up in the air like this. I don't think it's going to lock on. What in the heck? Oh. Yeah, man. Oh, just going over a little rock and you're like, this thing lurches in a way that the bigger machine really didn't. I wonder what it's called with the like a bucket attachment that has a rotate on it where you can actually turn your bucket, like, you know, around in a circle. It would save a lot of positioning time for the body of the machine. And it doesn't seem like it would just be like an auxiliary. It could be just an auxiliary control. I bet it really weakens the could really weaken the joint connection between the boom and the bucket. But it would be nice to be able to spin your bucket, and then you could hold stuff. You know, I could hold a log, and instead of just having to hold it horizontally, parallel with the ground, I could hold it perpendicular to the ground. I think I'm sure I've seen that tool. Maybe it's a grapple. Seems like a good name for it. Still have some of my oldest growth. I think I've cut down the oldest growth dead trees that I had, but I still have some of my oldest growth trees yet to be felled, and I wonder if I should wait to tackle those until I have a little bit of a heavier piece of equipment here. All right, let me put my phone down. It's funny to try to direct a live stream at the same time. I think I probably usually fail at that task. I can turn the beeping off, but I have to do it every time I change directions. And so I'm just not doing that because it's such it's like a whole task that you have to just be doing. There's a big old growth dude right up here. When it falls, if it falls, it'll basically bridge the ravine, and so it's gonna break in half a little bit, I would guess. But that might mean that it's not like the hardest thing to especially if it does break in half. It would be relatively easy to clear it. So maybe we'll finish out our day with that today, just to make some really appreciable progress on actually improving the looks of this place. Yeah, the other machine, the 19,000 pounder, seemed like it was just so heavy that you run over a rock and it would pretty much just be kind of crunched up on the spot like that, so it didn't end up disturbing your ride very much. I didn't have to cut down very much, very many of the junipers because they're not affected by the pine beetles. But I do have a few, and I wonder, I don't really know anything about the quality of that wood. It has an interesting red coloration, almost like a cedar. So I bet it is sort of related somehow, but I don't know if it offers any of the like anti-mold and qualities that a cedar wood has. I have no idea. The arm on this guy, it can't dig, well, I'm not digging, it can't reach nearly as far, obviously, as the bit longer one. But you really take for granted how much how nice it is to be able to reach stuff 20 feet in the air. I guess I'm going to put some of the juniper trunks over here. I don't love the cockpit in this guy either. I don't need to complain about it, but the seat is like a half-height seat, so it's you know, it only goes up to like my mid-back. My shoulders and my neck are entirely unsupported. I think we're going to cruise up the other trail. I don't have very many, I haven't done much of the logging on that side. I've been starting over here. I'm gonna hop out here real quick. And grab my chainsaw for an awkward little ride. Doo-doo-doo. Okay, that's an okay place maybe for the chainsaw, minus the fact that I have to sit right there. Not comfortable, but tolerable. At least it's not in the way of the controls. said it before, but I'll say it again. One of my favorite things about this project, other than just being outside and really basking in the glory of these beautiful, beautiful mountains, has been seeing the really dramatic difference in the geology in the area. It's like completely let's see if I can get enough service to move my camera. But like from 1 foot to the next foot. I mean, sometimes there's like 20-foot sections of one kind of rock, but 1 foot to the next foot in some places, and you will just be having a totally different. You'll be digging into totally different kinds of rock, and some of it are quartz, some of it's I don't know what, and a bunch of other I don't know what's. But I was doing a little bit of research on the geology up in Idaho Springs, and it sounds like, I don't remember what they called it, but I was like, I googled like how far do you have to dig down to hit like the Jurassic layer in Idaho Springs, and it says oh, you can't. The rocks in Idaho Springs are 1.7 to 1.9 billion years old, and they were pushed up to the surface rather than being when the Rockies were being created, rather than being buried further under, which struck me as a really interesting thing because just a few miles east of here is a town called Morrison, and Morrison has like world-renowned fossil what do they call them? Fossil fields. They've made like a lot of dinosaur discoveries in Morrison area, and some of those fossils in the same Rocky Mountain formation, I suppose, were the Jurassic period was pushed up closer to the surface there. But in just 20 miles down I-70, you get a dramatically different like geological time scale. What do they call it? Confounding? No. The great, I don't know, some word. Oh shoot, I've got a wheelbarrow in my path. Here's a couple of rocks that I'd like to gather, so I'm going to take out my chainsaw right around, no, I need to drive my chainsaw further up the road, so I'm going to leave that there for a minute, move this wheelbarrow, and I'm pretty sure if I haven't lost audio yet, that's going to happen soon. I'll get some heavier rocks here, a little bit as well. imagine having to build, to build everything with resources that you have on your own, in your own space. All right, I think our audios are back. A little bit of a long trek away. This hillside right here only has, oh man, you can just count them. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 trees that are dead. Oh boy, there's one way up there. 8. But so there's a nice pause, and then another 200 feet away there's about 100 of them, and there's still about 20 maybe on the hillside by the camera. It's a lot. It's a lot. We've got I had an arborist guy come out, again to quote removal of trees, but also then like to quote mitigation and sort of like preventative, like how do we keep the trees that we want to stay living, how to prevent them from succumbing to the same injuries. And it sounds like it's doable. He said that they maybe have like a 90% success rate with a sort of a broad spectrum insecticide applied to a little band around the trees, and that will both kill larvae and make the beetles just a little bit less likely to infest the tree. And that'd be great, because we've got maybe 50 trees right around the house that we would very much like to not have, that we would very much like to not lose. Yeah, this log is just a little too big. I can't. This log is a little too big. Yeah, man, it's so funny how much less power these littler dudes have. Don't even know what the camera's looking at. Just a nice little view of the trees. Now I've got a couple. Why won't my camera move? Oh, why won't my camera move? Where do I want to put the branches that need, the logs that need the most work? Let's see if I can get this camera moved again, though. That'd be good. There we go. Yeah, where do I want to put these? It's gonna generate a decent amount of scrap. I'm going to put them sort of closer to the scrap pile. All right. Oh, what? Yeah, I don't even feel great about driving this up the hills very much. They are steep and bumpy, and this thing just doesn't have the same confidence. But I'll clean off the hillside that I can reach. They say you're allowed to build, I think it's 6 feet. Could be 7 though. But they say you can build up to a 6-foot fence or a wall, not retaining, but freestanding, without a permit. No, as far as I could tell, no restrictions on the size of it. So I was thinking about building a 6 or 7, if it's allowed, foot tall rock maze. Stack up my log, rock, whatever. This is a big area. Be kind of fun to have a little maze here for the kids. I don't know what else you can do with really a 6-foot tall wall besides a maze or a wall. What? Put Monday, so good to you. Blah, 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 blah. Monday, course, it's Friday. I almost just want to, I don't like where I put this log. I think it's not perfect. I just want it to be like centered, you know? Getting pretty close to the limit of what I can just reach up here, but I got a few more things. I'm going to take a couple second break. I forgot what I was going to look up. Wood chipper rentals. Let's see, weeby. Okay. So it looks like the 12-inch chipper is towed, and it's like $1,500 per week and $500 per day, $400 per 4 hours. Let's see about the 6-inch chipper. Six-inch chipper. Looks like it's towable as well. And it's about $500 cheaper per week. I bet 6 inches would be enough. I don't really have very many 12-inch limbs. So 6-inch limbs, if I could tow that, then I could just drive through, pick up the brush where it sits and chip it up. And I wouldn't be able to like gather the chippings, but I could just scatter them and they'll give some carbon back to the land. That seems like not a bad idea. Okay. I like that. That probably makes more sense than loading up probably makes more sense than loading up load after load after load of all this stuff to bring it somewhere else to chip. I was like, why am I going so slow? It's because I turned down my speed. Can I reach you? Not quite. next spring, I don't know if I should do it over the fall. Probably not. Next spring, I will cover these hillsides in wildflower seeds. Because apparently that is a good ground cover that puts a lot of nutrients back in the soil and provides a good lower canopy for reforestation by bigger trees. I think I need to run up to the main house and top off my hummingbird feeders, but I'm going to double check that. Yeah, I can't tell about that one. One of them's got something, but the other one doesn't. And I'm here, and our guests are out right now. So I'm just gonna go do that. I'm gonna drive myself down the hill and bring something down there with me. But I will be back here in, I don't know, let's call it 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Alright, we're going to lose audio here shortly. Obviously, I will be back soon. Hey, Bumpy. I think maybe we have audio back. I don't know. I get some rules to follow. And this, these and those. No one knows. We get these pills to swallow. How they stick in your brain. Taste like down. What you do to me? I come undone. The flourishes in this song, you know, the little fills that change from verse to verse, are some of my favorite. I found out the ocean, dead life found in the sound. Is that a raindrop? Coming down. Doo-doo-doo. And realize no one knows what you give to me. No one knows. Okay. Let me see here. I'm gonna, I think, pause the stream for a few moments. announcements. Might just sign off for the night. I don't know. Depends on. I don't even know what it depends on. But I'll either be back or I won't. We sprinkling? Looks like it. I don't think it's going to rain. Hope not. Well, that's not true. I kind of hope so.